Welcome to My Life. We are honored to be in the presence of our own Connie Miller here today at the Treetop Lodge, no less. What a beautiful place. You really ought to come out and see this place. It's in Lapeer,
well,
officially?
Lapeer County, but Oxford Mailing,
Uh-huh.
and Dryden Township. So it's confusing.
Okay. Now, we all know that Connie's Kitchen is recorded here.
Most of it, yeah.
But give us a little sample of what's your role with the Treetop Lodge?
I do everything. I greet the guests, I maintain the lodge, I prepare the guest rooms, I do all the cooking and all the planning and the event planning and such for people when they come.
Take care of the unicorns?
Take care of the unicorns, my crazy unicorns. And I love it. I say I'm the CEO do-it-all. I mean, I just do it all.
But this is such a neat place, and I'll tell you, unless somebody tells you about it, you hardly know it's here.
We're kind of a well-kept secret.
Yeah.
Which is the way we wanted it, really.
But tell us a little bit about this place. I mean, you got 100 acres, right?
All told, with the property next door, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we're not a public entity. We're not like you're driving down the road and you see the sign and go, oh, I want to stop there. You kind of have to know someone or find us. We usually pretty much just on Facebook and such. We wanted it to be more of a word-of-mouth thing, because we're not a place to have wild parties, a lot of noise, silly stuff like that. We're not set up for kids. You know, kids are not banned, but adults need a place to relax too.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we've done. Being private, we can be very selective about what we do here and how often we hold things and do things. And we have complete control with the guests, of course, over what we serve and, you know, whatever they want. It's all about making people come here and relax. And as I always say, whenever I drive through the gates, my blood pressure drops.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Because it is so peaceful. First of all, you've got a long driveway going through the woods before you get to the house. And then you've got a nice path going back into the woods here, and you've got a wide open area where
the Grand Meadow.
People can have weddings and such, put tents up and that sort of thing. But what do you know about the history of this location?
Not an awful lot, and I'd like to find out, but the local records aren't that thorough. I can tell you that the main part of the house here behind us was built in '76 as a horse training facility. That's why we had that beautiful big barn,
Right.
which is filled with raccoons. When Nancy and her husband bought this property, it was to house the people that would eventually take over their private parrot rescue.
Okay, tell me about Nancy's. They don't
Okay,
know
Nancy and Lee own the property.
Yeah.
And they live next door. They have the alpaca farm. We recently did the shearing with the alpacas. I talk about them all the time. And this was originally supposed to be a house for those people that would eventually take over the bird rescue, because birds live a long time. And so Nancy put the addition on, which is from the tower over, to make a beautiful home. And things just didn't work out for these folks living out here. They decided they want to go back to the east side. So the house is kind of sitting here. And the first time I saw it, it had been empty for about 2 years. And there were cobwebs from the 22-foot peak in the living room all the way to the floor.
What brought you back here?
Well, I had a cleaning business. And I had run an ad because I had some spaces, and Lee called me. And I went out and met with them, started working at their home. And then one day Nancy asked me if I would clean the little house. So I figured there was a cottage on the property or something. So we pull up here and I said, only you would call this the little house. And I walked in, and as I said, it was filled with mice and cobwebs, but it just felt so good.
Yeah.
I thought and I always said I could never live in the woods. I could live out here in a heartbeat. There's something about this property and this house that is so, I say on our website, say something to the effect of, this place has healed me and given me peace. And it really has.
Well, it's when you walk through the house itself, it's so warm and inviting, and it's so peaceful out here in the middle of the woods. I mean, you can't hear traffic. There aren't any trains going by.
No.
It's an ideal setting.
No gravel haulers?
No. It's an ideal setting for weddings and.
Oh, it is, and just for gatherings. We just had the Tough Mudders this weekend.
That's true.
And several of them stayed over an extra day just because they enjoy the peace and quiet here. And they're a great group. That was a lot of fun. But we had fun setting up the house. We cleaned the whole thing stem to stern. And then Nancy, of course, a lot of furniture she purchased, some of the big stuff, and all the beds and everything are brand new. But then we just started bringing things in from her life and from my life. I have some pieces in the house, one that belonged to my grandparents. It was their 50th wedding anniversary gift. The family had a piece of glass blown commissioned for them. And when I set it out, Nancy said, what if it gets broken? I said, I don't believe in keeping things in a box somewhere. I want it out where we can enjoy it. And there's things like that all over the house. And of course, gifts and things that people have brought me since we've been here. There's just little mementos everywhere, and I love it. And photographs, and we're just building this whole kind of community family here. People that come and they come back. They come back, yeah.
Well, you present yourself so well, and you've got a very nice program on our station called Connie's Kitchen.
Connie's Kitchen.
I just
Episode
have to,
60 is going to air soon.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow. Give us a little history of your experience. What brought you to Oxford Community Television?
To OCTV?
Yeah.
Well, I was filming the show. I've been filming the show for about 3.5 years. We just started up here. Well, we've been here about a year. I ran into Bill Service in the parking lot at Meyer one day. I said, I want to do a cooking show. And he said, great, we need a cooking show. So we came up here and started episode 1, and now we're on 60.
Had you ever done anything like that before?
I did a lot of acting and such in school,
but
not really anything quite like this. And I hate having my picture taken like a still picture, but the video camera doesn't bother me at all.
As long as you can keep moving.
I guess, because you notice I talk with my hands.
What tempted you about a cooking show?
I cook. That's my passion.
Okay, that's your passion.
It is. I like to care for people. I like to take care of people. I like to offer them a warm bed and a hot mug of cider and a warm meal, and cook those things for them that they can't get anymore, or mom used to make, that sort of thing. I love to do that.
Like what?
Well, some of my specialties up here, the things that I actually make a ton of, are like bacon wrapped dates, which is the simplest thing. It's just a date wrapped in bacon and thrown under the broiler. And then I drizzle it with fig drizzle. And it's just, they call them lodge crack, because you just can't stop. And then I have my own version of grilled cheese sandwiches, which are just a combination of a lot of different cheeses.
I'm looking for the samples. Anybody see the samples?
I didn't cook today. I didn't cook. But then those have different fruit preserves, all sorts of different things. You get the sweet and salty thing going on. And I do a lot of, I can do very elegant upscale, but I like more home cooking, more comfort foods. You know, I love to make mac and cheese, make a good roast. I love to stuff chicken breasts with whatever comes to mind. And our wine dinners, we have 7-course wine dinners.
Oh.
And those will start with an idea. Like one time I wanted to do mushrooms. I don't like mushrooms, but I can cook mushrooms. So every course featured mushrooms, including dessert. I did a sauteed mushroom in chocolate bark to go with homemade vanilla ice cream. And everybody just raved. So I just love taking a central idea like that and then fleshing it out. And then of course when guests come for different events, I want to cater to them. If they have a food allergy or something they just don't like, I love being able to adjust and make each person feel special. You know, feel like they're home and they can relax, but they don't have to do any of the work.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing.
Now, do you handle the cooking yourself when
All
you
of
have
it.
people come in here? Wow.
Yeah. When we have a big event, I do bring in help for serving. You know, Chris, my husband, is great about that. He jumps in at a moment's notice. And my daughter, and I have a list of people that want to come up here and just, they call it playing. You know, Pauline Bennett, who works with OCTV, she's been up here to help me quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So it's a lot of fun. It's just fun. There's no stress in the kitchen.
Yeah, now before we go any further, we should mention that Chris is C.J. Carnaccio with the Oxford Leader, the award-winning columnist there. So that's who her husband is. And this is such a beautiful place. I'm getting signals that we need to take a break. So don't go away. We'll be right back, and maybe we'll have some mushrooms.
Catch us anytime on YouTube. Go to Oxford Community Television YouTube.
Here on My Life with Connie Miller, talking about one of my favorite subjects, among other things, food.
Food.
Yeah, I think we left out, we were talking about your wine dinners?
The wine dinners, they run from September through March or April, about once a month, sometimes twice a month. And it's a 7-course dinner with the wine pairings from Dean Ronde, previously of Oxford Wine and Beverage.
Right.
And just so nobody wonders, Dean chose to close that business down. He was done. He'd done it for 14 years.
Sure.
And he's an amazing. He walked in here one day, and I just added something, and he said, "You never mentioned soy in the menu." I said, "Dean, that was a half a teaspoon of soy that went in," and he picked it up. So he's really good, and interesting.
So how does that work with the wine? Do you publish something?
Generally on Facebook.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Yeah, I have a lot of followers.
so you got to follow the Treetop Lodge to learn about them.
Yep. And people see when the postings come up, and then they can contact me for reservations.
And roughly how much does it cost somebody?
$60 per person.
Per person.
For a 7-course meal.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's
That includes drinks and dessert?
the whole thing. Everything from soup to nuts. Literally.
Yeah.
We have a course that's cheese and nuts, and we serve soup and appetizers. And sorbet. But it's a lot of fun. I love doing the wine dinners. We just don't do them in the summer because there's so much going on.
Sure.
People are so busy. So,
Have you been interested in cooking all your life?
well, my folks used to say if they ever stopped making Kraft macaroni and cheese, I would starve to death because they thought that's all I could make. I never had a lot of incentive to cook. I cook to survive, to eat to survive. That's what my show is about. We have to eat to survive.
Sure.
So let's make fun. Let's have fun with it. And so when I finally had started, actually when I was living on my own and I was cooking for friends, it was so gratifying. I mean, I would literally make a roast on a Sunday and start calling people. I've got this roast, come over and eat it. And then there was a number of years that, again, I just didn't have a lot of incentive to cook. It was just something I needed to do.
Sure.
And I'd been in catering for a while and in event planning. And then when the economy tanked, I kind of got out of that. I did a lot of volunteer work, and I coordinated the Library Friends Gala every year for 9 years. Excuse me. And that was a lot of fun. And then little by little, people would ask me to cater this or do that. And then when this all came up, well, actually before the lodge, Nancy had an event going, and she said, "Who's a good caterer in town?" And I said, "Well,
Moi?
let me make you something and bring it to you." So I did. And then when this just all fell into it naturally, because that's a one-stop place. We have everything you need here for whatever your event is. So
Is your philosophy of cooking kind of a how to use what you have sort of thing?
Oh yeah. I do that at home a lot. I mean, I've always said if you give me half a pork chop and a green onion and a leftover bottle of salad dressing, I could make dinner. Because sometimes that's what you have to do. And that's like my show. It's a 30-minute show showing that you can spare that 30 minutes out of a day to be in the kitchen with your family, with kids, with your friends, and have a decent meal and pull out the linen napkins on a Thursday for no reason. Don't save the linen napkins because you have to eat anyway. So why not have something fresh and good and easy and shared?
And you don't have to cook all day.
No. I mean, I can cook all day.
Yeah.
I enjoy that, but most people don't. I'm kind of different in that. But I get the gratification when people enjoy what I do. It's just wonderful.
Well, let's talk more about Connie Miller.
Connie Miller.
What side of town do you come from?
I was born at Old St. Joe's in Mount Clemens.
Mount Clemens.
Yep.
East Sider.
East Sider, and I grew up in Utica.
Tell me about your did you know your grandparents?
My father's family was in Detroit, and my mother's family, I didn't see them much. They were in Canada, in Montreal, and Quebec.
Oh.
And they're still there. Those that are still with us.
What
are
was
still
their
there.
last name?
My mother's family?
Yeah.
Rady, which was shortened from O'Grady when they came from Ireland.
That's not a French name. That's
no,
an Irish
no,
name.
that's an Irish name.
Ah.
There's no. I mean, they speak French in Quebec now, but they're all Irish. At least my tree of it.
So your grandparents weren't real close for you to visit
No.
every now and then. There
No,
was-
I loved it when I saw them. They were
Yeah.
fun. My mom had 3 sisters. And then, when the grandparents died, then my parents died, I'd lost touch. And then because of Facebook, all of a sudden they're all in touch with me again. They send me videos of their
That's neat.
gatherings. It's wonderful. Some have been here to visit. And
Yeah.
it's wonderful. And they're fun. They really like me. I mean, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, in my mind, that's really what Facebook is all about.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then my dad's family was a bit more conservative. It wasn't the fun. It was more the traditional visit your grandparents on Sunday or on a holiday type thing. Didn't really know them all that well. I was fortunate that I didn't lose any of my grandparents till I was 16. Then I lost 3 in a year.
Oh boy,
And then my mother's mother actually was at my high school graduation.
how neat.
So that was kind of nice because she was the only one left.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a real closeness with that side of the family. And
Do you remember what their occupations were?
my mom's dad was at one time a police officer in Quebec, or in Ottawa City. My grandmother, of course, was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah. Did they come from Ireland, by the way, or?
I'm not sure. I think their parents did.
Ah,
I haven't really been able to find clear records. I'm working on it because I think it's interesting. But then my grandfather became a builder, and he traveled all over and built the Stations of the Cross at St. Joseph's Oratory in Montreal.
really?
The first ones. And they were actually, he and my grandmother were in Highland Park when my grandmother was expecting my mother, who was born early. And she was born here, so when she turned 21, she had to choose her citizenship. And since the war was on and there was more opportunity, that's when she came to the States as a full citizen. But you had to choose. I don't know how it works now. And then my dad's dad was, by turns, a Detroit firefighter, a Detroit police officer, and then he worked with Henry Ford for many years.
Henry Ford the man or Henry Ford the
Henry
hospital?
Ford the man.
Ah,
Yeah, down at the plant.
and you said his occupation was?
At one time he was a firefighter and then a policeman, and then he went into working with
Automotive.
Ford, yeah. And then he
Nice.
was there till he retired.
Yeah. Did your mother work outside the home at all?
She didn't. She started working when I was probably in 5th or 6th grade. She went back to work where she had worked when she first met my dad, which was Standard Oil.
Uh-huh.
And she was a comptometer operator. And she went back to doing that because that was pre-computer. You know, they didn't
Wow.
have the fancy stuff. And then, you know, she did other things. She worked at Ace Hardware in Utica for 20 years, which is funny because the Ace Hardware in Oxford is owned by the son of the gentleman who owned it in Utica.
Small world. Huh?
Yeah. It all comes back to Utica eventually.
Yeah. Jeez. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have one brother. He's deceased. Died a couple of years ago. He had 4 children, and they're all married and having kids now.
So, did you say you were living in Utica?
I was raised in Utica.
Raised at Utica.
Yeah.
What are some of your early memories about living in Utica? Did you live in the country? Did you live in the city?
I lived one block south of 21 between Van Dyke and Shelby, which was not terribly built up then. But it was, you know, kids out all day long until the streetlights came on, and the 4th of July parades were amazing. We had a florist, Bano Flowers, and they actually built floats using real flowers. My dad used to work with Chuck Bano on those. And it was a lot of small town stuff. You know, we were considered Utica even though we were Shelby Township.
Yeah.
Because that's where the post office was. And that was, all my friends had farmland out along Hall Road, which is now where all that commercial development is. You know, the old farms are gone, and there's Lakeside Mall and all the other commercial development there.
Yeah, indeed. Just the other day we heard that Sears was going to close at Lakeside Mall.
I understand Lakeside's kind of a ghost town now.
Oh, really?
And I actually worked at Lakeside before it opened. I got a job there. And then I was there with my high school band for the grand opening in March of '76 during an ice storm. And I worked in retail there for many years in different places. It's kind of hard to picture it now, fading away.
Well,
So-
Russell's giving us the high sign.
Is
here
that
we
Russell
need
or a
to
unicorn?
pause.
It could be a unicorn.
We'll show you Russell in his unicorn outfit in a moment. Don't go away.
There's a lot of history to Oxford. Hidden around every corner, deep in every crack, and sometimes right in front of you, waiting to be discovered. If you just dig a little, you'll find the great history of our beautiful town. Welcome to historic Oxford.
Here with Connie Miller on My Life, out at the Treetop Lodge. We're talking about your parents and your grandparents, and you had a lot of Irish in your family.
No, we're completely
Your
Irish.
Mother's side?
Both.
Both. Oh, my
Both.
goodness.
For years, I thought my name Miller was German.
Yeah.
But Miller was an occupation that was not exclusive to naming strictly through it was also in Ireland, and I did find census records that went back far enough to confirm that they came from Ireland.
Ah,
So I'm 100% Irish,
well,
and I'm married to an Italian. So
my guess is you're having more spaghetti now than you did then.
my mother made great spaghetti sauce.
Did she?
She wasn't much of a cook. She didn't enjoy cooking. She wasn't a bad cook. She just did it because she had to. But she made good spaghetti sauce. Really good spaghetti sauce.
As you think back on your meals when you were young, what was your favorite that she fixed?
Like I said, it wasn't terribly inspired. And it was also the 60s when people were starting to put potato chips on things
Yeah.
and make things called like tuna gook, you know, which other people might call tuna. I don't know what the heck. But food didn't inspire me much as a kid. You know, we didn't have fast food then. So we didn't have those alternatives. So it just, you know, it just was.
So what's the stories I hear about macaroni and cheese?
I love to make macaroni and cheese, but my secret guilty pleasure is I still love mac and cheese out of a box. It's quick, it's easy, and I like it. I have a friend, we'd get home from school every day when we were in high school, and we would make a box of mac and cheese and sit down and watch all my children.
Wow.
And so that's when they were convinced that if they ever stopped making that, I'd be out of luck.
Well, I don't have to tell you that there are some restaurants in the Clarkson area that are known for their
yeah.
variations on
Yeah.
macaroni and cheese.
Well, we had a wedding here, which for the reception, we had a macaroni and cheese bar. And I had 2 big vats, one with a white, sharp, dry English cheddar with Dijon sauce, and the other one your standard cheddar, and like 35 different toppings. So people could put bacon or vegetables or whatever they wanted and fill their plate with this stuff. It was wonderful. It's wonderful.
Well, you had a daughter who just graduated from college.
I
didn't
do,
you?
my
Did you
Larissa.
have a party out here?
She didn't really want a party because she's like in the midst of her education now. So we just kind of all gathered at the tavern after graduation. And
Sure.
she's already started her bachelor's program and she's finished her EMT course. And she's about to, I don't know, soon to go for her state boards. And she loves it. She thrives on it. She worked the Tough Mudder this weekend in the medical tent. And she got some real hands-on experience. And she just thrives on it. She's very focused and she's got the knowledge. And she loves the adrenaline rush and she loves helping people and calming people.
Sure.
And I'm very proud of her. I love watching her work. She can't tell me a lot about what she does because as soon as it gets kind of messy, Mama doesn't want to hear. But I'm very proud of her. She's worked hard. It's taken her a while to find her focus, exactly, but that's what happens.
Do you have any other children?
No. No, I have 3 cats and a guinea pig.
Alrighty, what are their names? No, never mind.
I can tell you. Anastasia Grace,
Ooh,
Chloe Ocho, and Duncan Marmalade,
wow.
and Eleanor Pigby.
Eleanor Pigby.
Yes.
Wow, we could make up a song about
I know.
that.
And-
Yeah.
Yeah. They always find us. I don't go looking. We lost our dog Daisy last year, and everybody keeps saying, "You going to get another dog?" I'm like, they get me. You know, when they need me, they find me. So we're currently without a puppy. But
Let's take you back to your early school days. What elementary school did you go to?
H.H. Wiley.
Now, did you pretty much live in the same place throughout your childhood?
Oh, yeah.
So you went to schools in the same community?
Oh, yeah. My mom, when my mom died in 98, they were still living in that house.
Were they?
Which my dad built that house in 53. Or they built it.
So H.H. Wiley, was that a really big school?
No. At that time, Utica was considered a large school district, but we only had one elementary, one high school, one what we called junior high. And then then there were a few other outlying elementary schools. Then they eventually added more as the population grew. But I went to Wiley, I went to Epler for 7th and 8th grade, and then we were the first freshman class moved up to the high school.
Did you have a lot of friends in grade school?
I did. I think I was always kind of the one to find the people that didn't have friends and make friends with them, because I always felt bad for them. And I was kind of a chronic pleaser, so the hostess, always the hostess. But that just goes back to, well, that's just me.
What did your parents take you traveling a lot?
No.
What kind of a childhood did you have?
Well, I'd say in many ways very typical of the time. We didn't have a ton of money. Dad always worked. We did go occasionally in the summer. We'd go up to Black Lake. My parents had a place, or my grandparents had a place up there, and we'd go up there.
Nice place.
Yeah, that was nice. And then I had friends that had property up north, so I got to go up to Canada Creek Ranch in Atlanta. And another friend had a place on Little Long Lake, so I got to go with their families quite often, which was nice. But my parents were kind of always involved with something. You know, Dad always wanted to have a business, so they had a business when I was in first grade, and that failed. And then they bought a bar in Mount Clemens. I was probably 9 or 10, and had to sell that after a couple of years. Dad was a great guy, but he was not a businessman. I think he thought he was. My mom, now she had the street smarts. She was more, the head. She didn't go to college. Matter of fact, she wasn't able to finish high school because she had to go to work. But she had, like I said, street smart. She was very good about that sort of thing. But she supported whatever he wanted to do.
Sure.
So
your dad was working in the Ford plant at the same time as he was?
No, that was my grandfather.
Oh, your grandfather.
My dad worked in a original for National Machine. He was a machinist.
Yep.
That turned into Standard Press Steel and then Town Robinson. And then he wanted to get out of that, and he decided to take a job as a custodian with the Utica schools. Because he wanted to do something completely different. And he loved it. He loved being with the kids. And he just enjoyed the whole process. And that was where he stayed till he retired.
Did he start the bar business when he was still there?
The bar had to have been before the schools because he wouldn't have had time to do both. So the bar was just a couple of years. Well, we had the bar in '68
Okay.
during the World Series, I remember.
Yeah.
So that would have put me at about 10 when we had it.
So he devoted his full. He didn't have another job.
No, that was kind of the interim thing.
Yeah, but it had to be a busy interim.
It
thing. I
was.
mean, that kind of business is almost a 24-hour
It
day
is.
business.
It is. But he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, he liked the camaraderie and such. My mom would work the bar for him to give him a break occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, there was a place at the end of the bar with a little seat because I was a kid, couldn't sit at the bar.
Yeah.
But I could sit down in that corner and see the TV. So when I hung around there, I got to watch the TV.
Did you spend a lot of time there?
Well, probably, yeah, because I was young and they didn't want to leave me alone. So
Yeah.
they took me with them. But it was fun.
What other kind of activities did you enjoy doing when you were in grade school with your friends?
Grade school, we had 3 pools on the street. My friend Kitsy had a big built-in pool. My friend Steve had a 5-foot above ground, and we had a 3-foot above ground. So when we wanted to dive, we'd go to Kitsy's. We wanted to swim, we'd go to Steve's. And if we wanted to play volleyball and just horse around, we'd go to our house. And that was kind of how we made the circuit all the time. Plus, we had a dairy aisle at the end of the street, and ice cream was like a nickel.
Sure.
So that's actually where I had my first job when I was 9 years old, was working at the dairy aisle. Just that, riding bikes and, typical stuff.
Now, you said your grandparents lived in Quebec? Is that
My
correct?
mother's family is in Montreal. We're in Montreal.
Did you get to visit them at all?
Not as much as I would have liked to.
But you got up there some.
Just a few times I was able to go and spend time with them. And then after they were gone, I took a trip up there on my own and visited the places. Like their apartment building is gone because the highway came through. But I
Yeah.
got to go to the Stations of the Cross and see where my grandfather had
Yeah.
been and such. And that was,
Wow.
yeah. But at that point, I didn't really get to meet family. That came later. So, and I'm enjoying knowing them.
So you're staying in pretty good touch with them now because
Yeah,
of Facebook and everything.
exactly. And it's wonderful because not even sure I would have been able to track them down otherwise. But they weren't big on staying in touch.
Sure.
I'm not sure there was a conflict somewhere in the family when my mom came to the States. And so they just didn't. I don't know. Maybe the world was different then.
Well, you didn't have Facebook then, and
No.
it
Traveling was
cost money to
expensive.
make a long distance call.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I remember long distance calls being a big event. Like the whole house had to go silent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they watch the clock as the
Oh, yeah.
seconds ticked away.
Oh, yeah. But no, they're nice people. And I can see now finally, because I never really saw this with my dad's family, I can see a lot of myself and a resemblance physically and emotionally and such with these people that I never knew before.
Sure.
And it's wonderful when they send pictures. They sent me a bunch of pictures of my mom when she was younger that I'd never seen before. So I have a touchstone, and my daughter looks exactly like my mother. I mean, it's eerie how much at that age, because I have a picture of both of them at 16.
Yeah.
And other than the style of dress, you'd think it's the same person.
Well, we have to conclude this episode of My Life with Connie Miller, but we're going to have another one. So please rejoin us for our next episode of My Life with our own Connie Miller.
Thank you, John.
Canine Stray Rescue is Oxford's own local dog rescue. Each year they take in hundreds of dogs and bring them into suitable homes. A certified nonprofit organization, Canine Dog Rescue strives to give pound dogs a new leash on life. To donate, adopt, or even volunteer, call them at 248-628-0435 or go to their website, dogsaver.org, and click on the Canine Stray Rescue League link.